car guy. I have a 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible, and nothing makes me happier in that car than when it's nice and clean. And you know who helps me get there? RevAutoCarCare.com. They help me get that pony looking as nice and shiny and ready for any of the car meetups that are all around the great city of El Paso. Spoil your car and go to RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton and view all the inventory they have and find out what works for you to help make your ride shine. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33 at checkout to save 15%. You all know there are hundreds of betting sites out there, but don't be fooled. Some sites are legal in some states only. Some sites pay in Bitcoin, and some sites have even been hacked. However, BetUS has been in business for over 30 years. They have future bets that are paying out in the thousands, and there's still time for you to bet on the Super Bowl, the National Championship, and even the NBA Championship. Just use the QR code right here, and it'll take you to the BetUS site. BetUS. Check it out and bet responsibly. Welcome, everybody, to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, hanging out with you here on a Tuesday, a frigid Tuesday in the city of El Paso, Texas. We are finally in a very, very cold state. I think it was 20 degrees or something like that today. Not a place where I want to be. I left Alaska. I left Connecticut. I got away from all those things to get away from the cold-ass weather, but now it's followed me here all the way to El Paso, and I am not a fan. I am not happy with where I am right now. Luckily, got a garage, parked the Mustang inside the garage last night. Not going to have to, or this morning rather, not going to have to worry about too much whenever I've got to go do errands later on today. I just don't want to deal with the cold. But this isn't the Weather Channel. You are tuned in to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course on Roku with our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Check out all they have to offer over at National Streaming Sports, a great platform that they have where they've platformed some amazing, amazing talent here throughout the United States, all kinds of different perspectives in the world of sports and all that type of stuff. You come over here for just the goofy-ass dude that is me, and I appreciate that fully. Tommy Cananza saying good morning, Tip. Good morning to you, Tommy. I cannot wait. I've been working on it over the last couple of days. Later on this week, we are going to debut our brand new Happy Nuts commercial just in time for Valentine's Day. No one knows romance better than the Tip. But that will be coming out a little bit later on this week, the commercial that we're going to be working on with our friends over at myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton. Use promo code Mike Tipton and save on all the different packages for Valentine's Day. Guys, make sure that you are taken care of head to toe on Valentine's Day with our friends over at www.myhappynuts.com. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into some of the stuff that's going on today. Of course, yesterday, the national championship game between Notre Dame and Ohio State. It was called a game. It was not much of a game. Obviously, Notre Dame tried to make a comeback late in the game, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that made it a little bit of fun. I don't think at any point after the first touchdown was scored did anybody think maybe Ohio State just doesn't have it. It was an ass whooping of epic proportions, and Ohio State just did what Ohio State's going to do. Dominated that game. Not really much to talk about there other than the fact that at the biggest stage, it always seems like Notre Dame just can't come through. And luckily, they were able to get the score to be somewhat respectable, 34-23 being the final score there. But at what point do we sit back and say about Notre Dame, enough is enough, like as far as factoring in hope and trying to do all those things, right? Like, when is enough? They've made it to multiple national championship games. They've been in the conference champion or in the college football championship playoff. They've done all of that stuff, right? And it seems like in the biggest moment, they just get blown out. And maybe it's just me being a jerk, which I am known to do. Maybe it's just something of that nature. But, man, I am just tired, so tired of watching teams like Notre Dame just struggle. Tommy Canazzo saying Notre Dame is the Dallas Cowboys of college football. You can't even say that. Like it's more the Chicago Bears, right? Like that's where they are. They're like the Raiders. It's been since the 80s, 1988. This old man sitting in front of you that's been aging like a gallon of milk left outside in the summer, been aging like a bundle of bruised bananas. I was 4 years old the last time Notre Dame won a national championship. Think about that. Like, wrap your mind around that. And yet, for some reason, they don't get the evisceration that comes the way of the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like, it's so strange to me. But nonetheless, I will digress. It's not about the Cowboys at this exact moment. It's about Notre Dame and their shortcomings. Augustine saying struggle. How did they struggle this year? I might have just said that out of context, right? Like, I don't mean necessarily this year. I mean over the last 3.5 decades, right? Like that's always a thing. And Tommy Canazzo hits the nail right on the head right here, saying they're always hype and never deliver. They're always perennially, even whenever they had Charlie Weiss as their head coach, this was a team that was constantly ranked top 5, top 10, and would just not live up to it, right? Obviously, being independent, you get to create whatever it is that you want to create as far as narratives go and blah, 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 blah. Oh, I like this because now it seems like we are changing who we are as a human being here, Augustine. They're successful. All that is success, all that is cared about by most people, you particularly in the decade that I've known you now, has been championships. It doesn't matter if you make it to a certain level, you got to win a championship. So if you ain't winning the championship, in your exact words, doesn't matter how much you win in the regular season or any of that other nonsense, it matters if you won the championship. And they just haven't done it. In, let's say, 1988. So now we're looking at 37 years. 37 years since it's been that Notre Dame has won a championship. Almost as long as it's been since the University of Texas El Paso has won a bowl game. But that's a long-ass time for a team that consistently gets up there. And yes, they are successful because the brand is extremely successful. It says, what is success in college football? It's going to a bowl. No, not for Notre Dame. No, Notre Dame's success is not, let's just make it to a bowl game, guys. Haha. Like that's not what Notre Dame does. Notre Dame, that's a victory lap. That's a victory lap. Okay. Just going to any bowl. So Notre Dame coming to the Sun Bowl last year, their fan base would say that was a raging success because Notre Dame made it to the Sun Bowl in 2024. No, like come on, guy. No, we're throwing out different levels of what success is. If that's the case, then Alabama had an amazingly successful season this year because they made it to a bowl game. Simply made it to the bowl game. That's all it is, right? Just that's the level of success it takes in college football is make it to a bowl game. I want to do this just again for you, Tommy. Oh, hell, guys, we made it to a bowl game. This is fun. No, for Notre Dame, that's not what a level of success is. And I love that. I love that this is where we're going to say, oh, all you got to do is simply make the playoffs. And you know what? The Dallas Cowboys have been successful. They've made it to the playoffs. That's all it is. As long as you play one more extra game, doesn't matter if you win it, you made it there. And there's no stakes in this game. So obviously, that's what the level of success is. That's what people, now I like this. It's not you owning your own words. That's what people, all the people out here. Oh, I'm Augustine. The people tell me that this is what success is in college football, and I follow the people. Come on, guy. I've known you for a decade. I know you're doing a thing. We're doing a thing here. I've known you for a decade. Come on. No. for some, very small, for a small smidgen group of people, of fans, yes, making it to a bowl game is a raging success because it doesn't happen very often, right? We're talking about New Mexico State. We're talking about UTEP. And we can't even really put New Mexico State in that category because they've been to more bowl games recently. But no. And the reason why, Augustine, I'm going to just say no to all of this, no to making it to a bowl game, is your level of how we grade success, is because there's 47 bowl games. That means more than half the teams are going to make it to a damn bowl game. Louisiana Tech made it to a bowl game this year with a 5-7 record. That's not any level or any measure of success. Oh, just make it to a bowl game, fellas. We'll be happy. I'm sure Georgia was happy to just be in a bowl game. I'm sure the University of Texas was just happy. All their fan base is going to look at them and say, you guys right there, you had a successful season because you made it to a bowl game. No. Maybe back when Augustine was a young man in the 1800s, whenever Walter Camp first invented college football in 1869, nice. Maybe back then that could have been the goal, right? Just make it to a bowl game. This is back before there were 136 teams. I keep saying that. 134 Division I teams in college football. Out of that 134 Division I teams, 97 or 92, we'll go 92. 92 of them make it to a bowl game. 92 of them make it to a bowl game. That means only 42 of them don't make it to a bowl game. So making it to a bowl game means nothing. Nothing. It would be like if every team in the NBA made it to the playoffs. Except, okay, the top 20 teams make it to the playoffs in the NBA. Because why the hell not? If the top 20 teams made it to the playoffs in the NFL, hell, let's add that. The Dallas Cowboys were this close to the playoffs. That's a successful season. Because that's what you're saying. Out of the 13 games they play, all you got to do is win 6 of them, and you've had yourself a great season. That's ridiculous. Byron Dalrymple saying money makes net money. I'm with that 100%. I'm all about you got to make money, right? But when has college football, when has any sport really ever been about, oh, okay, well, they're very successful monetarily? Because if that's the case, I will always give you this. If that is the case, they are very successfully a money-driven team. Then that team right here, right behind me, that needs to be looked at as a raging success. Because if that's all it's about is how much money did you make, that team right there, over here, that team right there is the prime example of what success is then. So please, if we are going to define success, let's define success. Because I've said it a million times, it doesn't matter if you make it to the Super Bowl. What matters is you walk out of the Super Bowl with a damn ring on your finger, because that's what success is. Because how many times have we seen a team make it to the Super Bowl and not get there again? That's always been the knock on Dan Marino, right? Dan Marino made it to the Super Bowl his rookie year, never went back. Can't be considered one of the all-time greats because he never won a Super Bowl. Wah. But now it's all about, oh, you just made it there. How convenient of a narrative is that? Notre Dame, you're successful because you just made it there. You made it to a bowl game, Notre Dame. Yay. I'm proud of you. I go full on Mr. Rogers here. Hi, Notre Dame. I just want to let you know I'm proud of you. You didn't win. You're going to go down in the record book again as a loser, as you have for 37 straight years. But you made it to a bowl game, and I'm proud of you. The hell with that, man. Come on. Come on. You made it to a bowl game. That's success. For some programs, yes. For Notre Dame, a double-digit national championship winning team, that's success? Give me a break. Come on. Linda McGrath saying, good morning, Tip. Watching you on Roku. I agree with you in principle, but as a senior in college, it's a memory for life. Maybe I'm just cynical. Like maybe it's me, right? That's more than likely what it is. Maybe it's me. As a senior in college, it's a memory. It's all just a great memory. I got to make it here. You know what would make that memory even better? Winning the damn game. I mean, come on. Awesome. You made a memory. Cool. I'm sure that whenever you look back on that, as a matter of, here we go. So I have a good friend. Who played on a national championship team. National championship caliber team, winds up getting their asses kicked, and said that all that mattered to them, as he was an offensive lineman on the field with a golden dome on his head, all he could think about was that they got that close and lost. That's the difference between fandom and actually playing the damn game. I get that that's a fantastic memory, but it's a nightmare because you were that close and you lost. And it wasn't even like you had a chance, really. You got blown out. Augustine, once again, moving the goalpost because that's what Augustine loves to do the best. What's success to a program that has not won a national championship in 37 years? What is success to a program that hasn't won a national championship in 37 years? Is winning the effing national championship. We're not talking about Notre Dame we're not talking about UTEP. We're not talking about New Mexico State, the University of New Mexico, UNLV, Stanford, any of this other nonsense. We're talking about Notre Dame. Win one for the Gipper. Rudy, what other college football program out there do you know has multiple movies made about it because they were the standard of success? If you truly believe that a fan, a real fan, not a fake fan, but a real fan of Notre Dame is okay with Notre Dame simply making it to a bowl game, because you're going to go back in the comment section and say, I'm just talking about any football program. No, we're talking about Notre Dame here. If you think that their fan base, their alumni, are happy with not winning a national championship, you are delusional. End of discussion. It is about winning championships at that level. I know for a fact, despite the fact that the Sun Bowl was sold out with a ton of Notre Dame fans, that they hated their team being associated in the Sun Bowl because it wasn't a national championship. They are not hanging up Sun Bowl banners in Notre Dame because they win the Sun Bowl. They want national championships. You are the guy, and there's a ton of people out there that are saying the same damn thing here. You are the guy that goes around saying, oh, it's all about rings. It's all about champions. How many championships did you win? It's not about did you make the playoffs. It's about how many championships did you win. That is what this world has come down to. How many championships did you win? I think it's a stupid effing argument, but I'm going to hold you accountable to your own words. At a program like Notre Dame, it's about winning the damn championship. Linda McGrath asking me over here, so you're telling me the Bills, who lost 4 Super Bowls, aren't proud of their accomplishments because they say different? Of course they're going to say different. Of course they're going to say different. But do they hang banners for them? Is there a banner hanging up in Buffalo? Because if there is, that's sad. That's really pathetic. Is there a banner hanging up that, oh, we made it to 4 straight Super Bowls? Oh, how many did you win? Oh, wait. How many did you win? How many did you win? Because that is what we always do as sportsmen. That is the basic divider right there, is how many did you win? I hate more than anything the argument of, oh, this team has made it to the NFC Championship game and this team hasn't. At least they made it to an NFC Championship game. Oh my goodness, they made it to an NFC Championship game. Did they win that NFC Championship game? And then did they win the Super Bowl? Because the end of the day is we play these games to win. What type of fan base would be okay with their players or all of their coaches or anybody just being like, you know what? We made it. Be happy with that, guys. We made it. Be happy. Be happy. Don't judge me. Be happy. Be happy that we did this. And Linda, we're talking about a different time. If we're going to talk about this, right? If we're going to really go into this and the differences in what sports culture is now comparatively to back then. Yes, making it to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row isn't a phenomenal accomplishment, and it should be something that their fan base should be proud of. But somewhere along the lines, the value of success changed. What we measure, that's better. That's a better word right there. The measurement of success changed, right? Because Andy Reid was looked at as an abject failure of a head coach because he only made it to 4 straight NFC Championship games, made it to a Super Bowl, but didn't win. He was looked at as an abject failure. You have coaches and players that have won a singular Super Bowl that are looked at as failures because they only have one. I didn't make the rules. I am the one that listens to everybody out there and the way that they talk about the rules and the way that they talk about that stuff. Buffalo Mafia is happy. Really. Legitimately. I promise you, they would give up those 4 Super Bowl appearances to just have won 1. That's not happy. And if they are happy with that, that is a culture of losers that I would not want to be a part of. And yes, I get it. People are, you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. Yes, I am. But my whole thing isn't make it to the playoffs. My whole thing isn't make it to the Super Bowl. My whole mindset is you better win the whole GD thing or else it didn't effing matter at all. That is how you measure a successful season. And I know someone out there is going to be like, but Tip, you said the Vikings had a successful season. Yes, they did. Because no one had any expectations for the Vikings. It's all about expectations and living up to them. The expectation for the Dallas Cowboys, not just by Dallas Cowboys fans, but by the Dallas Cowboys haters, is you better win a Super Bowl or else it's not successful at all. You better do everything or else it's not successful at all. That is the pressure cooker as a fan that the Dallas Cowboys fan base has to live in. So whenever we talk about Notre Dame, then yes, we're talking about a perennial national champion, one of the few double-digit national champions that are out there in sports. Augustine's saying, did the Lions have a successful season? No, because they didn't live up to the expectations. Their fan base, a ton of people out there in the media, were already giving them the Super Bowl. Then Augustine's saying, what about unrealistic expectations? My guy. The only people that go out and give unrealistic expectations are people like you. And I will say this with as much love and indignance as possible, are people like you. Because I assure you, that if the Dallas Cowboys had made it to the playoffs this year, it would have been, oh, well, they didn't win at all. Not, look at how many people left. 5 starters on the team that's represented in the national champ or in the NFC championship game, and 5 coaches that are on the staff of that same team that's in the NFC championship game. We're talking about Pro Bowl level players. We're talking about all pro players that left Dallas, went to Washington, along with a great defensive head coach that left and went over there, took half of his staff with him. That, right? No one would have looked at that. Oh, well, I mean, you've got to be able to survive this and that and blah, 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 blah. What I'm talking about is actual expectation, right? Like you've got a ton of people out there that are going to be like, oh, it has to be this way with the Dallas Cowboys. It has to be. Off of just what I thought this team was going to be, they met what I thought this team was going to be. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. I thought they would finish 9-7. They'd finish much worse than that. Or 9-8, rather. They finished much worse than that. But the fact of the matter is that it's other fan bases out there that create these expectations, right? Maybe the Bills don't have the same expectations that the Dallas Cowboys have. Maybe, yeah, we're fine. We're fine getting to the Super Bowl. But I assure you, where all of this started off with was Notre Dame. Medusa Design saying hi, hello, good morning to you, Medusa. Notre Dame's fan base is not happy with simply making it to a national championship because they've been in the college football playoff conversation and actual games ever since the inception of the college football playoff. It's about winning the championship at this point. That's where the level is for Notre Dame. So them making it to a bowl game and you being the arbiter of this is what success is. My guy, I will hold you accountable for the remainder of time. No, I've been really honest about that. No. Again, it is about because it's the Dallas Cowboys, because it's the pressure cooker of all the outside noise. My guy, remove head from rear end and listen to me, please. Okay? Can we do this? Because of what the expectations are by people who are fans of the Dallas Cowboys, because now it's no longer simply make it to the playoffs. You have gone 30 plus years without winning a Super Bowl. Now the narrative is you've gone 30 plus years without making it to an NFC championship game. It just keeps getting the goalpost, just keeps getting pushed back, right? It is now, and Tommy says it the same for everybody here, it's either Super Bowl or bust. Because even if the Dallas Cowboys make it to an NFC championship game, the fan base would be more than likely disappointed. But the people like you who love to bash on the Dallas Cowboys would say, you didn't win the NFC championship game, did you? So now the goalpost is don't just make it to the NFC championship game, win the NFC championship game. And now let's take it a step further. The hypothetical that the Dallas Cowboys win the NFC championship game and make it to the Super Bowl, but lose. The fans, once again, disappointed because you lost that far in the season. The haters, oh, you made it to the Super Bowl, but did you win? Right? That's the difference in expectation. That's the difference in what expectations are. For me now, I can't live in the world of the Cleveland Browns, of let's just make it to the playoffs, of what the Washington Commanders are living in at this moment, right? Where they're the beneficiary of let's just win. There's no pressure on us at all. Whatever we do, it's going to be looked at as a success, right? There are varying levels of success. Yes, I'm all about that. But whenever you talk about the historic teams, the Yankees made it to a World Series this year and was looked at as a failure. The Dallas Cowboys can make it to a Super Bowl and still be looked at as a failure if they don't win the championship. Because I assure you, sometime in the next 50 years, maybe, more than likely, with math on my side, the Dallas Cowboys will make it to a Super Bowl. Will they win that Super Bowl? Who knows? But if your level of success is, oh, well, they just made it there, then I will hold you accountable to that. Hopefully I'm around. Oh, actually, you know what? No, I don't want to be around in 50 years. Fuck that. That almost came out louder than what I wanted it to. No, 50 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't even know if I want to be here right now. But no, because it's not just making it to the playoffs is not the standard anymore for the Dallas Cowboys. Because the people outside of the organization, the people that create the outside noise, the haters mainly, would say, oh, well, all you did, well, you didn't win the Super Bowl. Oh, how come you didn't win the Super Bowl? You didn't win the Super Bowl. That's why. That's the same thing with Notre Dame. And there you go. The standard is higher. Whenever you've reached the top, whenever you've actually reached the top and you know what that feels like to win, you are chasing that euphoric moment over and over and over. Linda McGrath saying wins and losses in most circumstances is because of a handful of plays. A turnover, a missed field goal. So you're going to say that the Ravens are a failure because of missed extra points and drop passes? Yes. So there should be no expectations on the Baltimore Ravens? None? Because I assure you, all of you would have been at the throat of the Kansas City Chiefs had they lost to Houston. All of you will be at the throats of the Kansas City Chiefs if they lose to Buffalo. And all of you will be at the throat of the Kansas City Chiefs if they lose in the Super Bowl. All of you will. Because they created an amazing standard for themselves, winning 3 out of the last 5 Super Bowls. All of you cannot wait to watch that team lose. So why is it that a multiple-time, more than likely 3-time MVP doesn't get to be looked at as a failure? Because I assure you, if that was Dak Prescott in that game, if that was the Dallas Cowboys and they lost by a 2-point conversion failure in that game, I assure all of you would be at their throats. The narrative wouldn't be like, oh, they just made it there. It was fun. Aren't you happy? The double standard isn't from the fan base. The double standard is from the people on the outside. And if y'all get to use the double standard, why can't I? It's not the expectations from me. It's the expectations from y'all. You guys helped create some of that stuff. Yes, the Baltimore Ravens are an abject failure this year. They go out and spend a lot of money in the offseason. They go out and spend a lot of money, or they go out and they build a team around Lamar Jackson, who is, again, a multiple-time MVP. Do you think Lamar Jackson, do you genuinely think Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are looking at this season as a success? That as they walked off the field in Buffalo, that ball slipping through Mark Andrews' hands, that he was thinking to himself, guys, we made it here. We beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their fan base is going to think, oh, yeah, no, it's great. You guys did all you could. You maximized this season. No. There are different standards for different teams based off of what's going on that. Augustine saying, based off of the last 30 years, what is the standard? The standard is win a Super Bowl. Because we've already seen the Dallas Cowboys make it to the playoffs, and the narrative out there by people like you who want to talk all about the Stephen A. Smith stuff, the people like you don't matter if it makes the playoffs. And I already told you, it doesn't matter if the Cowboys make it to an NFC Championship game, because if they lose, it's going to be, oh, they lost in the NFC Championship game. Now they haven't won the NFC Championship game since 1996. Then if they make it to the Super Bowl and lose, it's going to be, oh, but they didn't win the Super Bowl. They haven't won a Super Bowl since 1996. Despite there being longer Super Bowl droughts out there than what the Dallas Cowboys have gone on, that's not the narrative. There's a ton of teams that haven't won a Super Bowl that have been around just as long as the Dallas Cowboys. Yet that's not a narrative. And a lot of those teams have been around longer than the Dallas Cowboys. And somehow, some way, this is not a narrative. The narrative that's out there is consistently The Dallas Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys haven't made an NFC championship game. And whenever the Dallas Cowboys, because it will eventually happen, make an NFC championship game, it's going to be, well, they didn't win it. And whenever they win the NFC championship game and they make it to a Super Bowl and lose, it's going to be, well, they didn't win the Super Bowl. The only thing that can placate to the people that are out there that are not Dallas Cowboys fans, and now to Dallas Cowboys fans who have all that pressure, is win the Super Bowl. I don't care what this season is. This season was going to be bad. Next season's going to be bad. I'm punting on those, right? Because I know they're not going to win a Super Bowl. There is nothing they can do in the regular season that would make anybody out there happy or that would quiet the noise. So what it's going to be is year 30 and year 31 of not making an NFC championship game, of not winning a Super Bowl, despite the fact that we are in year 40 of the Bears not winning a Super Bowl. In year 44, 43 of the Raiders not winning a Super Bowl. In year 53, maybe 52, I have to go back and actually look at it. Actually, no, I think it was 1969. So year 56 of the Jets not winning a Super Bowl. But we don't talk about that at all. I mean, the Lions have never won a Super Bowl. The Cardinals have never won a Super Bowl. The Browns, the Bengals, the Vikings never won a Super Bowl. Hell, 1977, we spoke about this last time. The last time the Vikings made a Super Bowl. That's not the narrative. That people aren't talking about that. Has that been a thing that's come out of your mouth? Whenever you want to, talk about how long it's been since a team has won a Super Bowl. No, it hasn't been that. That hasn't been your narrative. Because all you want to focus on is one singular team. Because it's easy. Your little brain doesn't have to work too hard when it's one simple team. I assure you that without winning the Super Bowl, everything is looked at as a failure with the Dallas Cowboys. Now with Baltimore, with the team they have, with the MVP caliber quarterback they have, the standard is win a Super Bowl. Do you genuinely think that the noise quiets down if Lamar Jackson just simply makes it to an AFC championship game? No. It will be loud and louder in the back. A simple man for a simple fan base. LOL. I don't understand that. If anything, you're the one that's not getting it. If it's too abstract for your brain, then that's a you problem. It's not a me problem. Oh, of course. This one. I love this. I love whenever I get this. Let me first say this, okay? I appreciate the discourse. I'm all about the discourse, right? Like, if your feelings get hurt because of the way that I talk, that's a you problem. It's not a me problem. Because the questions aren't going to come my way, right? Like, I'm being looked at as the idiot because I have this, right? But Linda McGrath says, you have to take into consideration that Ohio State has a $20 million roster. Notre Dame actually cares that their players get a degree. Notre Dame's quarterback was paid $4 million to be there this year. Their last two quarterbacks have been paid to be there. So do not try to do this holier-than-thou nonsense of what that team is, because that team also uses NIL. Their entire offensive line was brought in via NIL. They might not spend as much as Ohio State. They're still spending. So that's not anything to be taken into consideration for. That, my friend, is a cop-out. That is trying to take the easy way out. That is not being able to turn a mirror upon yourself and say, what is NIL on my team? Because the last I checked, the quarterback they had this year was at Duke last year, and they paid him a lot of money to be there. So don't give me that nonsense. A $20 million roster. Get out of here with that nonsense. That is such a joke. They care about their players getting degrees? Really? Really? Sure. Medusa Design saying, I guess greatness is measured by so much more than just wins, because no matter what, the Cowboys are always in everybody's mouth. That's it, right? Like, again, you can look at the mass exodus of players. I can do this to you. Take into consideration the amount of players that left the Dallas Cowboys. And you're not going to take it into consideration. Tommy Canazza saying, even the Lions raised the bar for themselves getting to an NFC championship game last year and losing the first round of the playoffs this year. That's right. Right? Like, it's not a one thing or a singular thing. It's a thing that ebbs and flows and goes up and down and does all these other things and stuff like that, right? Like, the Lions now have that level of expectations, but if the Lions don't reach that level of expectation, is it going to be a narrative that's spoken about all the time by the pundits that are out there on ESPN? And the answer to that is no, right? You can look at the thing that's out there with people, right? Where it's always, I just go back to this because it's the easiest thing for me to harken back to, because it's things that come my way. As a Dallas Cowboys fan, it's always like, oh, you guys, don't know how it's this all-encompassing you guys say it's always your year. I have never once said that in my life. I am a very realistic individual. But even with my expectations of it being a terrible year this year for the Dallas Cowboys, I knew that I was not going to be happy with this season. Even if they made the playoffs, I was not going to be happy with it, because I know that the bar is so much higher for the Dallas Cowboys than it is for the Detroit Lions. It's the same bar for the San Francisco 49ers, but they don't get stabbed with it the way that the Dallas Cowboys do. I don't understand how. I genuinely don't. Maybe someone out there can explain it to me. But how is it that the 49ers can get away with it? Has it been because they made it to a Super Bowl? Did they win? Did they win? And the answer to that is no. I didn't realize it was just make it to the Super Bowl. I thought it was about winning the Super Bowl. That's what the whole goal of sports is, right? It's not win some of the games. It's win as many games as possible and walk out with a championship. That's what sports is. At least to me, that's what sports is, right? Now, trust me, I have a big enough brain to understand that stories and narratives and things like that, that's what I love about sports. I don't care about wins and losses because I don't impact the game. But if we're going to talk about a national championship game and say that the players that were in that game were happy to be there, I gave you an example of one of my good friends, a person that I know on a more than just this type of level, has said repeatedly that he can't even go back and watch the game. He's told all the time, you should be proud of what you've done. But all he can focus on 13 years later is, I didn't win it all. This was our chance and we didn't win it. So whenever I hear fans come up with this excuse of, oh, they should just be happy to be there. They should just be happy to be there. I know for a fact that that's not the case. And I know for a fact, because I've been at the highest level and it sits in the back of my brain all the time, because I am a competitive monster. Trust me. If you know anything about me, I hate losing. I see my kids play games and they lose on purpose and it boils my blood. I am a competitive monster. I hate that I am this way. But I made it to ESPN. I got all the way to ESPN and circumstances happened. And even though I can lay back on those circumstances and all that stuff that happened, the one thing that sits back in my mind is I didn't maximize what I was able to do at ESPN. Was I happy to be there? Sure. Can I sit back at it at moments and think to myself, oh, wow, this is like what you did was really awesome? Yes. But I also sit there like I know a lot of sports people do. And I say to myself, God damn, what if? And I hate that damn thing. I try my best to not live in that world of what if. And I get to do it today. And I didn't want to do this because today is the anniversary of my daughter passing away. So my whole staying out of what if is normally based off of what if I still had my daughter? How different would life be? Right? Like that's the realm of why I try not to do the what ifs. That's the origins of why I don't want to do what ifs. She'd have been 14 years old today, right? Think of all the things, especially in our culture, that I would be prepping for over the next year, right? Like that is why I don't live in the world of what ifs. I live in the world of what is. And what is that you better win the championship or you live in the world of what ifs. You better maximize everything or you live in the world of what ifs. Because whenever you lose, and trust me, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, as a Texas Tech fan, as a fan of all of these things, I understand that whenever you lose, you are compounded and just bashed over the head of what is. And the what is that you lost. So you can't say, well, what if our team was healthy? What if we didn't have 7 starters lost to IR? What if we didn't lose a coach? What if? None of that matters in the world of reality. And the reality is you can make it to that championship game, but whenever you lose, it haunts your effing nightmares. Woo. Again, I look at sports a lot differently than other people, so I'm pretty sure that whenever people lose, they don't take it the way that I do. Trust me. I've got that weird thing in your head where you will sit back and be like, God damn, if I had just done this, right? I still think about it from like a 7th grade basketball game. I missed a free throw that would have won a game. And I remember sitting back thinking to myself, like, Jesus effing Christ, dude. Like, the way that I got better at it was from 8th grade to 9th grade in that 100-degree temperature in the middle of summer. I was out there shooting free throws with both hands, 1,000 a day. Got up to being a 95% free throw shooter, and that 95% still bothers me because it could have been higher. That's just my mindset as a competitive person. And I am nowhere near the level or caliber that some of these other athletes are. That's why I will never be like, oh, they're just happy to be there. Lamar Jackson is probably very proud of winning multiple MVPs. He would give up all those MVPs to win one Super Bowl. I assure you that. Woof, it got a little deep there. I apologize, guys. Linda McGrath saying Lions won't win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff at the quarterback. I don't believe that. How can we dump on Jared Goff whenever he had an amazing season this year? He's proven to us that he's a quarterback that's been to the Super Bowl with a less talented team than what Matt Stafford won it with in LA. That's an easy cop-out. I don't like things like that. Linda saying people started despising the Cowboys when Jerry Jones took over as owner. Also going on to the sorry for your losses, guys. I didn't say it for that. I apologize if it took it down that route. Trust me, that was not my intention. It was just a thing that I felt related a little to what we were talking about with the show, right? Because the world of what if can kill you. It really can. And that's what happens whenever you lose in those types of moments, is you get that what if. And being locked in that moment is a nightmare for people. Right? Like it genuinely is whenever you have something of that caliber. Now, granted, sports should never be looked at the same way as what I had mentioned as my personal experience with my daughter. But believe me, like I can equate them, right? I can put them and use that as the example of what if. And this is one of my, like, Linda, I'm glad that you brought this up because this is one of my favorite stories that I like to tell about the sale of the Dallas Cowboys, right? Now, obviously, I wasn't super old or cognizant at that time. Augustine saying Goff is an amazing quarterback. Augustine also asking, who was that basketball player that said there was no failure in sports? I have no clue. I wish I knew. And it says it's a 50-minute segment. It is. I'm working on some stuff. So in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, whenever things happen, we'll have a couple of things working with us that way. But Linda saying that everyone started despising the Cowboys whenever Jerry Jones took over as owner. Yes. But part of the reason for that is the original ownership of the Dallas Cowboys was not going to sell the team to anybody that wasn't going to fire Tom Landry. And think about what type of person you have to be, one, as a businessman to say, yes, I'll take that, and then two, to follow through with it, right? And if he doesn't fire Tom Landry, he doesn't get Jimmy Johnson, and the Dallas Cowboys don't have the success that they have. Any other owner would not have fired Tom Landry, not at that point in time. You let that guy, I'm a firm believer that Tom Landry had done what he needed to do to just leave on his own terms. People like Tom Landry, like Bill Belichick, shouldn't be fired. They should just be able to leave on their own terms. Sometimes you just need a little shove to help get you there. But whenever you've been as successful as people like that, you always feel like you can go back and get it. You always feel like there's something left in the tank. You're chasing that one moment, that 1 year where maybe, just maybe, I can get it. But we all knew it wasn't going to happen. Jerry Jones had to buy the team. The ownership took less so that Jerry Jones could buy the team because he was the only one that was going to fire Tom Landry. Obviously, that's not a great way to ingratiate yourself to a fan base, but then you win 3 Super Bowls. And I honestly believe that the narrative that surrounds Jerry Jones is one that's constructed around people who don't watch the Dallas Cowboys. There is no way you can look at Jerry Jones and say he doesn't love this team and that he doesn't give up a lot for this team. He genuinely does. Like, as an owner of the franchise, he's done a great job. Fantastic in that way. Medusa Design saying, hey, don't downplay your grief. It's okay. Thank you for being open with us. That's one of my things too, is I will always be as honest with y'all, more than likely to my detriment. Tommy Kanata saying the what if Dez didn't get robbed in 14 still haunts me to this day. Exactly. That was a great team that the Dallas Cowboys had in 2014. Augustine saying found it. It was Giannis. He said that my 1-6, but the other 9 were learning experiences. I guess like the year that he won it was great, but the other 9 years leading up to it were learning experiences. I mean, I'm with that, right? Like, I'm the same way. I don't like losing, but I will take a learning experience from a loss. But I'm not so much of a nerd to sit back and be like, oh, this loss doesn't hurt. I'm learning from it. This loss is going to make me better because some losses don't. Again, maybe I'm looking at it from the macro. Some losses don't. Look at how many players are more than likely, playing their last game, and that's a loss. You might look at it later on with fondness that you got to make those great memories, but a lot of the times you don't get that luxury of it, right? Like, not every loss is a learning experience or should be looked at as such. For me, losses are fuel. I'm a very robotic person when it comes to showing my emotions most of the time, and it takes a lot for me to turn up my emotions to do this show, because if I did this show like Ben Stein, just very monotone, God, how old do you have to be to get the Ben Stein reference? Jesus. But hey, that's me, right? But if I did the show monotone, I understand that people wouldn't necessarily tune in, wouldn't watch. There has to be some, so I turn it up, get out of my comfort zone in order to do some of this. Augustine clearing it up saying MJ 1-6. Yes. But for me, man, losses, I take it personal. Any type of loss, I am like that. The Michael Jordan meme, looking at the thing, and I took that personally. Oh, well, you just overcooked that cookie, and I took that personally. That's the way that I am. I'm a weird, wired machine in that way. Tommy Canazza saying, no, he hasn't. The owner of any franchise would have fired Jerry, the GM, a long time ago. Jerry, the owner, has failed. No, he hasn't. Again, as the owner and president of a team, your job is to create value for that team. As an owner, taking the Dallas Cowboys from being a $235 million team to a $10 billion team. And if they sold today, I assure you would be more than $10 billion. Shows that he's been successful, right? Like, now on the field, you can say recently he hasn't been successful, but he has been successful in the past as well. Linda McGrath saying, love the debate with you today. Great show. I appreciate that, Linda. There we go. Augustine saying, Jerry, the owner, has not failed. Jerry, the GM, has failed. Oh, man. And I think that that's the thing, right? But I also think that Jerry, the GM, and Jerry, the owner, have become a little convoluted in who they are as individuals, right? Jerry, the GM, is chasing what he had in the past. And Jerry, the owner, is looking at Jerry, the GM, and says, and I had mentioned it a little bit earlier, right? It's the Toby Keith song. I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. That's what he's chasing, right? That one time where you can catch that lightning in a bottle just one more time. And you can say, I did it, and I did it my way. All of us want to go out with that Frank Sinatra song playing in the background, right? I did it my way. I promise you I'm never going to sing again. But that's what he's chasing. He's got both of those working to his detriment in my mind, right? Because I'm a firm believer in Jerry the GM has done an okay job, but not enough to keep his job, right? Because that's what it comes down to with the Dallas Cowboys is you need to win. You got a GM in New York with Brian Cashman, who's a 5-time World Series champion, who's constantly on the hot seat because he hasn't done enough with what he's been given. The Dallas Cowboys are a Ferrari. Jerry Jones is too old to be driving a Ferrari. He needs to hand the keys over to someone else, but he lacks the ability to look internally and say, I need to give it up. Most people do that, right? I came into this industry with the mindset of I'm doing this maybe till I'm 50. If I'm over 50 still doing this, then I have failed, right? Because I want to eventually hand whatever it is that I can create off to somebody else. That was the goal whenever I moved back to El Paso and said, hey, I want to do radio. I was going to do radio, do a little thing, and then start producing other people and getting their names and stuff like that out there. Obviously saying he likes Theo Epstein. I think Theo Epstein is like the premier GM in all of sports. I got to literally none of my other topics today, and that is a great show, guys. I appreciate it so much. All right. We've only got a little bit of time left here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on Roku, on X, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Of course, our friends over on Roku are National Streaming Sports. I appreciate the ability that they gave me, the rhetoric that we have, the back and forth, all that we're able to get from our friends over at Roku on National Streaming Sports. We will be back tomorrow. Later on this week, we are launching the brand new Happy Nuts commercial. I appreciate the love, the support, and for everyone out there, I hope you all have a great day. We will see you all tomorrow.